Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and felt his world crumble. The screen showed empty space where Earth should have been, no blue marble spinning in the void, no moon reflecting sunlight, and just cold darkness and scattered dust, floating in patterns that made no sense. "Run the scan again," Jake told his science officer Lisa. Grant. His voice stayed calm, but his hands shook as he gripped the command chair. They had been gone for 6 months on humanity's first faster-than-light mission to Alpha Centauri. Now they have returned to find their home missing. Lisa's fingers danced across her console. Her face grew pale as she read the results. "Captain, the gravitational signatures are all wrong. There's debris here, but it's not natural. Something displaced all the matter in this solar system." Navigator Paul Rogers looked up from his station. With wide eyes, "Sir, I'm detecting energy residue patterns. This wasn't a natural disaster. Someone did this on purpose." Jake felt ice in his veins. 300 crew members looked to him for answers he didn't have. They were explorers and scientists, not soldiers. Most had families on Earth, had families. Past tense now seemed more accurate. "Check the colonies," Jake ordered. "Mars Base, Luna Station, Europa Research Facility, check them all." The crew worked in silence, broken only by the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep of sensors. Jake watched their faces change from hope to confusion to horror as each scan came back negative. Mars showed signs of recent habitation but no life signs. Luna Station was simply gone. Europa's ice had been melted and refrozen in patterns that suggested massive energy weapons. Communications officer Kevin Walsh tried every frequency known to humanity. He sent out distress calls and emergency signals to any human settlement within range. Only static answered back. The silence stretched across the solar system like a funeral shroud. "Captain," Lisa called out, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm reading something strange in the asteroid belt. Metallic signatures that don't match any known human technology." Jake ordered the ship to investigate. What they found made even less sense than Earth's disappearance. Floating among the rocks were pieces of structures that looked almost familiar but wrong somehow. The metal was too smooth, the angles too perfect. These were the remains of space stations, but built with technology far beyond anything humans possessed. Engineer Danny Clark suited up and took a shuttle to examine the wreckage up close. His voice crackled over the com as he explored the twisted metal. These stations were human-built, but someone modified them with alien tech. "I'm seeing power systems I don't recognize and computers using quantum processing we barely understand. Any survivors?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. But the damage pattern suggests these stations were destroyed from the inside, like someone triggered self-destruct sequences to prevent capture." Security Chief Maria Santos discovered something even more disturbing when she examined the computer fragments Danny brought back. The data cores contained fragments of communication logs from the final days before Earth's disappearance. Humans had been in contact with alien civilizations. Trade agreements, diplomatic exchanges, even cultural programs showed a galaxy full of intelligent life. According to these records, Maria reported to the senior staff, humanity had been accepted into something called the Galactic Council 18 months ago. We had trading partners, scientific exchanges, even tourist programs with other worlds. Jake stared at the data scrolling across the main screen. If we were part of a galactic community, where is everyone now? Why isn't anyone responding to our calls? Lisa ran cross-references between the recovered data and their current sensor readings. What she found sent chills through the entire crew. "Captain, I've been monitoring galactic communication frequencies mentioned in these logs. The networks are still active. Ships are moving between systems. Trade is happening. But when I search for any mention of humans or Earth or any human colony, I get nothing. It's like we never existed." The implications hit everyone at once. Humanity hadn't just been destroyed. They had been erased. Someone had wiped them from existence and then removed all trace that they had ever been part of galactic civilization. "Check our ship's registry," Jake ordered. "See if we're listed in any galactic databases." Kevin's face went white as he accessed. External networks. Sir, according to galactic records, this ship doesn't exist. Our registration numbers aren't in any system. Our home planet isn't listed as inhabited. As far as the galaxy is concerned, humans never developed space travel. The bridge fell silent except for the steady rhythm of life support systems. 300 people floating in a ship that officially didn't exist, from a world that had been erased from history. Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him like gravity from a collapsed star. Options, he said quietly. We could try to make contact with the galactic authorities, Paul suggested. Prove we exist and demand answers. They erased us once, Maria countered. They might just finish the job if we announce ourselves. Lisa pulled up star charts showing inhabited systems within their fuel range. We could try to blend in. Learn what happened while staying hidden. Find out who did this and why. Jake studied the faces of his crew. Young and old, scientists and engineers, people who had signed up to explore the stars and found themselves the last remnants of their species. They deserved better than to spend their lives running and hiding. But they also deserved to live. Long enough to find answers, we go dark, Jake decided. Stealth mode only. We find out what happened to our people and who's responsible. And when we know enough... He paused, thinking of Earth's children playing in parks that no longer existed. When we know enough, we make them pay. The New Horizon turned away from the empty space where Earth once spun and headed into the galaxy. Behind them, solar winds scattered the last molecules of what had been humanity's birth world. Ahead lay mysteries and dangers they couldn't imagine. But Jake Morrison had made a promise to the ghosts of 10 billion humans, and he intended to keep it even if it took the rest of his life. 2 years had passed since Jake Morrison first stared into the empty void where Earth should have been. The New Horizon moved through space like a ghost ship, never staying in one system too long, never making contact with galactic authorities. They had become experts at staying invisible while learning the truth about what happened to humanity. Lisa Grant had built a network of contacts in the shadowy corners of galactic civilization. Black market traders, information brokers, smugglers, who asked no questions as long as payment arrived on time. She met them in asteroid mining stations and frontier worlds where laws meant less than survival. Slowly, piece by piece, she gathered fragments of the truth. The Zephyrian Collective controls most of this galaxy, Lisa told Jake during one of their private briefings. They're not just another alien species. They're the power behind the Galactic Council. When they say jump, everyone else asks how high? Jake studied the data files Lisa had compiled. The Zephyrians appeared humanoid but taller, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes that seemed to see everything. They had mastered technologies that other species could barely comprehend. Energy manipulation, matter displacement, even limited reality alteration. They presented themselves as benevolent guardians maintaining peace across thousands of worlds. According to my sources, Lisa continued, humanity was flagged as a potential threat about 3 years ago. Our rapid technological development worried them. We went from steam engines to faster than light travel in less than 2 centuries. Most species take thousands of years to achieve what we did in decades. Engineer Danny Clark had been busy with his own investigations. He discovered that several human colonies had quantum storage devices installed just before the Great Erasure. These devices could preserve consciousness patterns in digital format. Someone had been preparing for what was coming. I've been analyzing the energy signatures we found at Earth, Danny reported to the senior staff. The same patterns show up at every human settlement. But here's the strange part. The displacement field that removed our planets also created quantum storage matrices. It's like they didn't just want to kill us. They wanted to preserve us for study. This revelation led to a dangerous mission to one of the abandoned human colonies. Maria Santos led a small team to the ruins of New Geneva, a research station. That had been humanity's most advanced outpost. What they found there changed everything, hidden in the station's lower levels. Behind security doors that had been sealed with human blood samples, Maria discovered a message from colony administrator Dr. Helen Brooks. The message had been recorded just hours before the erasure began. "If you're watching this, then some of us survived," Dr. Brooks said from the flickering hologram. "The Zephyrians gave us an ultimatum: submit to genetic modification and technological limitation or face extinction. We chose to fight. Those who could escape have gone into deep hiding. Look for the Phoenix Initiative. They'll find you when you're ready." The Phoenix Initiative became their holy grail. Communications Officer Kevin Walsh spent months monitoring encrypted frequencies, searching for any sign of the hidden human resistance. He found traces of coded transmissions using Old Earth languages and mathematical sequences that only humans would recognize. During this time, they learned more about Zephyrian technology and society. The reality alteration device was called the Genesis Protocol. It could rewrite matter and energy patterns on a planetary scale, but maintaining such changes required enormous amounts of power. Entire star systems were strip-mined to fuel the quantum processors that kept Earth and the human colonies erased from existence. Lisa's contacts revealed that some Zephyrian scientists had opposed the human genocide. A few had even been executed for trying to warn human settlements about the coming erasure. The collective's leadership was split between hardliners, who saw humans as an existential threat, and moderates who believed coexistence was possible. The hardliners won, Lisa explained during a crew meeting. They convinced the council that humans would eventually develop technology to challenge Zephyrian dominance. "Our unpredictability made us dangerous. Most species follow predictable patterns of development and behavior. Humans don't." Paul Rogers had been mapping abandoned human settlements and found something interesting. Several colonies showed signs of hasty evacuation rather than complete destruction. Personal belongings left behind, ships missing from docking bays, life. Support systems shut down in emergency protocols rather than destroyed by enemy action. "Someone warned them," Paul reported. "These people had enough time to pack and run. The question is, where did they go?" Danny made a breakthrough when he successfully interfaced with a damaged Zephyrian data core they had salvaged from a derelict ship. The information he extracted painted a picture of the collective's true fear. Humans weren't just developing technology quickly, they were developing it in ways that broke established scientific laws. "According to these files," Danny announced, human scientists had begun experimenting with consciousness transfer technology, pocket dimension manipulation, and something called emotional energy conversion. The Zephyrians couldn't understand how we were doing it. Our methods didn't match any known physics. The crew realized that humanity's unique approach to science and technology came from their emotional and intuitive nature. While other species followed logical, predictable research paths, humans made intuitive leaps that led to breakthrough discoveries. This unpredictability terrified the Zephyrians, who believed in ordered, controlled progress. Maria's security team found evidence that some humans had been captured rather than killed during the initial erasure. Zephyrian research facilities across the galaxy contained specimens listed only as Terran biological samples and consciousness pattern studies. Millions of human minds were being held in digital prisons, studied like laboratory animals. The revelation that their people might still exist in some form drove the crew to take greater risks. They began monitoring Zephyrian military communications and tracking supply shipments to research facilities. What they learned made their blood run cold. The stored human consciousness patterns were being used to study human creativity and emotional responses. Zephyrian scientists were trying to understand what made humans so unpredictable and innovative. They wanted to replicate human cognitive abilities while maintaining control over them. "They're not just studying us," Jake realized during a late night strategy session. "They're trying to become us. They want our creativity and innovation, but without our independence and unpredictability." As the second year ended, Kevin finally intercepted a transmission that changed everything. Hidden in the background noise of a commercial shipping frequency was a simple message: "The Phoenix rises at dawn. Vega System, Asteroid Field 7, come alone." Jake looked at his exhausted crew and felt something he hadn't experienced since Earth's disappearance, hope someone else had survived. The resistance was real. Humanity's children were still fighting somewhere in the darkness between the stars. Set course for Vega, Jake ordered. It's time to find our people and start planning our return from the grave. The New Horizon turned toward the Vega system, carrying 300 ghosts who refused to stay dead. Behind them lay 2 years of hiding and learning. Ahead waited the Phoenix Initiative and the beginning of humanity's resurrection. The Vega system's asteroid field looked empty to most sensors, but Jake Morrison knew better than to trust appearances anymore. Kevin Walsh had guided them through 3 security checkpoints using codes hidden in ancient Earth music broadcasts. Each checkpoint had been invisible until they transmitted the right frequency patterns. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," came a voice over the comm. The accent was unmistakably human, carrying traces of what sounded like old American English mixed with something else Jake couldn't place. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the exploration vessel New Horizon. We received your transmission about the Phoenix rising at dawn." A long pause followed. Then the voice returned, warmer but still cautious. "Captain Morrison, you're either the luckiest son of a gun in the galaxy or the best Zephyrian spy we've ever encountered. Either way, you're coming aboard for a conversation." Space around them shimmered as cloaking fields deactivated. What had appeared to be empty asteroid clusters revealed themselves as massive space stations connected by armored tunnels. Ships emerged from hidden docking bays, human designs but modified with technology Jake didn't recognize. The Phoenix Initiative had been busy. Commander Rachel Stone met them at the airlock of the Central Command Station. She was tall and lean with graying hair pulled back in a military knot. Scars marked her hands and face, telling stories of battles fought in the shadows. Her eyes held the same haunted look Jake saw in his own mirror. "Welcome to Haven Station," Rachel said as she led them through corridors bustling with activity. "Population 12,000 humans and growing every day. We've been building this for 8 years, ever since we got word that the collective was planning something big." The tour that followed left Jake's crew speechless. Hidden throughout the asteroid field were manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, and training centers. Ships were being built using a combination of human engineering and reverse-engineered alien technology. The Phoenix Initiative wasn't just a resistance movement, it was becoming a new human civilization. "How did you know what was coming?" Lisa Grant asked as they walked through a laboratory where scientists worked on projects. Jake couldn't begin to understand. Rachel's face darkened. "We had people in the Galactic Council. Dr. Helen Brooks was our early warning system. She managed to get messages out to scattered human colonies before the erasure began. Some of us got away, but most—" She trailed off, staring at displays showing star maps with red markers indicating lost human worlds. Chief Engineer Alex Turner joined them as they toured the shipyard facilities. He was younger than Jake expected, maybe 30 years old, but his eyes held decades of experience. "We've been reverse engineering Zephyrian technology for years," Alex explained as they watched workers assembling sleek new vessels. "Turns out, their stuff isn't as advanced as they want everyone to believe. They just got a head start by a few thousand years." The ships under construction were beautiful and deadly. They combined human innovation with alien materials and power systems. Stealth capabilities that could fool Zephyrian sensors. Weapons that could punch through energy shields. Most importantly, they carried quantum processors capable of interfacing with the Genesis Protocol network. "We call them Phoenix-class vessels," Alex said with pride. "Each one can carry a crew of 50 and operate independently for months. We've got 30 completed and 20 more under construction." Dr. Helen Brooks met them in the research section, looking older than her recorded message but still sharp as a laser scalpel. "Captain Morrison, I've heard about your 2-year investigation into what happened to us. Your intelligence gathering has been impressive for a crew that was supposed to be dead." She led them to a secure briefing room where holographic displays showed the true scope of the Phoenix Initiative's operations. Red dots marked Zephyrian facilities across the galaxy. Blue dots showed hidden human settlements and safe houses. Green lines connected supply routes and communication networks. We've been infiltrating their research facilities, Dr. Brooks explained. The consciousness patterns they stored aren't just for study. They're keeping them as backup files in case they need to restore humans for labor or experiments. We've been stealing those patterns and downloading them into clone bodies. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. You mean our people are still alive? The ones they erased? Not alive exactly, but preserved, Helen clarified. We've successfully restored about 40,000 humans so far. Most of them are here at Haven or at our other hidden settlements. They remember everything up to the moment of erasure. Maria Santos leaned forward. How many consciousness patterns do the Zephyrians have stored? Conservative estimate? About 2 billion. They didn't just erase our worlds, they stored our people as digital prisoners. Every human who was on Earth or the colonies when the Genesis Protocol activated. The room fell silent as the magnitude of this revelation sank in. Humanity wasn't extinct. They were captives on a scale that defied comprehension. The Phoenix Initiative wasn't just planning resistance. They were planning the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Paul Rogers studied the tactical displays. What's the plan? How do we get our people back? Rachel activated a new set of displays showing the Genesis Protocol network. Massive installations orbited key star systems, connected by quantum entanglement networks that maintained the reality alterations keeping human worlds erased from existence. Operation Lazarus, Rachel announced. We hit 17 Genesis Protocol facilities simultaneously. The network is interconnected. If we can cause cascade failures at enough nodes, the entire system will collapse. When it does, the quantum energy holding our worlds in erasure will release. Earth and all our colonies will snap back into normal. Space-time. Danny Clark studied the technical specifications. The power requirements for this kind of operation must be enormous. What are you using for energy sources? Alex grinned. That's the beautiful part. We're going to use their own power against them. Each Genesis Protocol facility has to maintain massive energy levels to keep the erasure field stable. We've developed quantum charges that don't destroy the facilities, they overload them. All that stored energy gets released at once and feeds back through the network. Kevin Walsh looked concerned. What about the consciousness patterns? If we overload their systems, won't we lose our people? Dr. Brooks pulled up detailed schematics. That's why we need to hit them all at once. The consciousness storage systems are separate from the Genesis Protocol processors. We'll have a small window, maybe 10 minutes, to download as many patterns as possible before the facilities go critical. The plan was ambitious beyond anything Jake had imagined. 17 strike teams hitting the most heavily defended installations in Zephyrian space, all coordinated to the second. If they succeeded, humanity would return to the galaxy in a blaze of glory. If they failed, the Phoenix Initiative would be destroyed and the last hope for human freedom would die with them. What do you need from us? Jake asked. Your ship has the most advanced navigation systems we've seen, Rachel replied. We need you to lead the assault on the primary facility orbiting Zephyr Prime, their homeworld. It's the most heavily defended target, but it's also the main control node for the entire network, Lisa Grant spoke up. Captain, this is beyond dangerous. We're talking about attacking the heart of their empire with a handful of ships. Jake looked around the room at faces filled with determination and desperate hope. These people had spent years preparing for this moment. They had built a hidden civilization and rescued thousands of their people from digital slavery. They deserved a chance to bring everyone home. When do we start? Jake asked it. Rachel smiled for the first time since they had met. We've been waiting for someone with your ship's capabilities to arrive. Give us 2 weeks to integrate your crew with our battle plans and upgrade your systems. Then we go to war. The New Horizon docked at Haven Station and Jake's crew began preparing for the most important mission in human history. Around them, the Phoenix Initiative buzzed with activity as final preparations began for Operation Lazarus. Soon, the galaxy would discover that humanity was far from extinct and they had spent their time in exile learning how to fight back. The countdown reached 0 across 17 star systems simultaneously. Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace directly above Zephyr Prime, the massive blue and silver world that served as the heart of the Collective's empire. Around him, 12 Phoenix-class vessels materialized from stealth mode, their weapons already charging for the assault. "Target acquired," called out Weapons Officer Sam Parker from his station. The primary Genesis protocol facility hung in space like a metallic moon, bristling with defensive systems and surrounded by a fleet of Zephyrian warships. Energy readings showed power levels that could fuel entire solar systems. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake broadcast on the secure channel. "Remember, we need 10 minutes inside that facility to download the consciousness patterns. After that, we blow it and get out. Phoenix teams, report status." Voices crackled back from across the galaxy as strike teams checked in from their targets. Commander Rachel Stone led the assault on the secondary control facility at Kepler Station. Lieutenant Pete Johnson coordinated the attack on the research complex orbiting Proxima Centauri. Each team faced similar odds, overwhelming enemy forces protecting installations that could reshape reality itself. "Enemy fleet is moving to intercept," reported Navigator Paul Rogers. 12 heavy cruisers and about 30 smaller vessels. "They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies." Jake studied the tactical display showing red dots converging on their position. The Zephyrian ships were larger and more heavily armed than anything in the human fleet, but they moved with predictable precision. "Tell them we're here to collect our people. Sam, target their lead cruiser and show them what human weapons can do." The New Horizon's plasma cannons fired first, sending brilliant blue bolts across space to strike the Zephyrian flagship. The alien vessel's shields flared and buckled under the concentrated assault. Human weapons had been designed specifically to counter Zephyrian defensive systems, and the results exceeded even their best expectations. Phoenix-class vessels engaged the enemy fleet with tactics that confused and frustrated the alien commanders. Where Zephyrian ships moved in orderly formations, human vessels darted and weaved like angry wasps. They attacked from unexpected angles, used asteroids and debris as cover, and coordinated their strikes with an unpredictability that the enemy couldn't counter. "Their command ship is hailing us," Kevin Walsh reported from communications. "High Commander Veltar wants to speak with whoever is leading this assault." "Put him through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a tall, pale figure, with large dark eyes and an expression of cold fury. High Commander Veltar looked exactly as Jake had imagined, arrogant, calculating, and completely convinced of his own superiority. "I am High Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective," the alien leader announced. "You will surrender immediately or face total destruction. Your species was removed from existence for the safety of all galactic civilization. We will not permit your return." Jake stood and faced the screen with fire in his eyes. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon. We're here to take back what you stole from us. Every consciousness pattern, every stored mind, every life you thought you could erase forever. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live." Veltar's expression shifted from fury to something that might have been amusement. "You bring 13 small ships against the might of our entire fleet. Your arrogance is remarkable, but futile. We have studied your species extensively. We know your weaknesses." "Then you know we don't give up," Jake replied. "And you know we fight dirty when we have to. Sam, show the High Commander what happens when you corner humans." The weapons barrage that followed lit up space around Zephyr Prime like a miniature star. Human ships focused their fire on the command vessel while smaller Phoenix craft darted between enemy cruisers, targeting weapon systems and shield generators. The battle was fierce and desperate, with both sides taking heavy casualties. Tactical Officer Linda Hayes coordinated the assault with cold precision. "Phoenix 7 is taking heavy damage. Phoenix 3 and 5 are moving to assist. Enemy reinforcements incoming from the outer system." Jake split his attention between the space battle and reports from infiltration teams that had managed to breach the Genesis Protocol facility. Special Operations Commander Pete Johnson led a mixed team of humans and reprogrammed alien robots through heavily defended corridors toward the consciousness storage banks. "We're inside the main server complex," Pete's voice crackled over the comm. "These storage matrices are bigger than we thought. We're looking at maybe 5 billion consciousness patterns, not 2 billion. It's going to take longer to download them all." "How much longer?" Jake demanded as the New Horizon shook under enemy fire. 20 minutes minimum. "The data streams are more complex than we anticipated." Jake felt ice in his stomach. 20 minutes was an eternity in this kind of battle. His fleet was already taking casualties they couldn't afford. But the alternative was abandoning billions of human minds to digital slavery forever. "All ships, we're staying until the job is done," Jake announced. "Whatever it takes, we protect those infiltration teams until every last human consciousness is downloaded." The battle intensified as more Zephyrian ships arrived from across their empire. What had started as a tactical strike was becoming a full-scale war. Human vessels fought with desperation and fury, knowing that failure meant not just their own deaths, but the permanent enslavement of their entire species. Engineer Danny Clark had joined the infiltration team and was working frantically to interface with alien computer systems. "I'm reading massive quantum instabilities in the Genesis Protocol network," he reported. "The other strike teams are succeeding. The cascade failures are starting." Reality began to ripple around Zephyr Prime as the protocol network started to collapse. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as energy fields that had maintained the erasure of human worlds for years began to fail. In the distance, Jake could see new stars appearing as hidden human colonies snapped back into normal space-time. "Earth is coming back online," Lisa Grant announced from her science station. "I'm reading massive energy discharges from our home system. The planet is rematerializing." But the returning energy was also overloading the Genesis Protocol facility. They were raiding. Warning alarms screamed as quantum processors began to melt down from the feedback surge. Pete Johnson's team was running out of time to complete their mission. "Download progress at 60%, Pete reported. "But the facility is going critical. We might not make it out." Jake made the hardest decision of his life. "All ships, prepare to ram the facility if necessary. We're not leaving without our people." "Danny, can you accelerate the download process?" "I'm trying to reroute power from the facility's own reactors," Danny replied. "If I can channel the meltdown energy into the download systems instead of just letting it explode, we might save everyone." The space battle raged around them as Danny worked his miracle with alien technology. Human ships fought like cornered wolves against overwhelming odds while their people raced to save billions of stored minds from digital oblivion. "Download complete," Pete finally announced. "All consciousness patterns secured. We're getting out now." The Genesis Protocol facility erupted in a cascade of quantum explosions that painted space in colors that had no names. The New Horizon and surviving Phoenix vessels pulled back as reality itself seemed to catch fire around Zephyr Prime. High Commander Veltar's flagship tried to pursue them but was caught in the expanding wave of quantum destruction as they reached safe distance. Jake watched the facility collapse into a singularity that briefly opened windows into other dimensions. Through those windows, he could see Earth spinning blue and beautiful in its proper orbit, surrounded by human ships and space stations that were blinking back into existence after years of erasure. "All teams report mission accomplished, Rachel." Stone's voice came over the comm from across the galaxy. "Operation Lazarus is complete. Humanity has returned." Jake slumped in his command chair as the adrenaline of battle faded into exhaustion. Around him, his crew cheered and wept as they realized what they had accomplished. The Phoenix Initiative had pulled off the impossible. They had stolen back their entire species from the jaws of extinction and announced to the galaxy that humans were not going quietly into the night. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel recovered from a thief's treasure vault. Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the New Horizon and watched his homeworld spin slowly on its axis, exactly as it had before the Zephyrians erased it from existence. Cities sparkled on the night side where 10 billion humans had awakened to find themselves alive again after years of digital imprisonment. The restoration had been chaotic beyond imagination. One moment, consciousness patterns had been stored in quantum matrices across 17 star systems. The next, they were opening their eyes in bodies that remembered every detail of their lives up to the moment of erasure. Children found themselves in playgrounds they had left years ago. Adults discovered that time had moved forward while they were gone, but their memories remained frozen at the moment of displacement. "Captain, we're receiving priority communications from the reformed Earth government," Kevin Walsh reported from his station. "President Martinez wants to thank you personally for bringing everyone home." Jake nodded but didn't turn away from the viewport. Earth looked the same as when he had left it, but everything else had changed. Humanity was no longer the naive species that had first reached for the stars. They had been forged by betrayal and genocide into something harder and more dangerous. The galactic community had reacted to humanity's return with shock, fear, and political upheaval. Species that had supported or ignored the human genocide found themselves facing diplomatic and economic pressure from a civilization that now controlled advanced technology and had legitimate grievances. Several governments had already fallen as their populations learned the truth about what had been done in their name. Commander Rachel Stone arrived on Earth 3 days after the restoration, bringing with her the evidence that would reshape galactic politics forever. The consciousness patterns had contained not just human memories but also fragments of Zephyrian computer systems that revealed the full scope of their crimes. War plans, genocide protocols, and lists of other species marked for potential erasure. The collective wasn't just afraid of human technological advancement, Rachel explained during a meeting with Earth's new leadership. They were systematically removing any species that might challenge their dominance. "We were just the first successful test of their erasure technology." High Commander Veltar and the surviving Zephyrian leadership were now prisoners aboard human vessels, awaiting trial for crimes against sentient life. Many of their own people had turned against them once the evidence of their actions became public. The collective was fragmenting as member species withdrew support and demanded accountability. Dr. Helen Brooks had established the Human Restoration Project, working to help recovered consciousness patterns adapt to life in bodies that had experienced years of change. The psychological challenges were immense, but humans proved as resilient in recovery as they had in survival. "Every mind we brought back carries memories of the digital imprisonment," Helen explained to Jake during one of their briefings. "They remember being studied, examined, and experimented on. But they also remember maintaining their humanity despite everything the Zephyrians did to break them. That strength is what will carry us forward." The Phoenix Initiative had evolved into the Human Defense Coalition, a military organization dedicated to ensuring that no force in the galaxy could threaten human survival again. The hidden shipyards at Haven Station had been expanded into massive industrial complexes, producing advanced warships that incorporated the best of human ingenuity and captured alien technology. Alex Turner had become humanity's chief military engineer, overseeing the development of weapons and defensive systems that surpassed anything the Zephyrians had possessed. "We're not just rebuilding our fleet," he told Jake as they toured the new construction facilities. "We're building the foundation for humanity's future in a galaxy that tried to erase us." The new human warships were works of art and instruments of war combined. They carried names like Phoenix, Lazarus, and Resurrection, reminders of humanity's return from extinction. Each vessel was equipped with quantum processors that could interface with reality alteration technology, ensuring that what had been done to Earth could never happen again. Other species were taking notice of humanity's rapid military buildup and technological advancement. Some offered alliance and friendship, seeking to position themselves on the winning side of what many predicted would be a major shift in galactic power. Others viewed the returning humans with suspicion and fear, wondering if they would prove as dangerous as the Zephyrians had claimed. Jake found himself appointed as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, a position that came with both honor and burden. His mission was to represent a species that had been betrayed by galactic civilization and ensure that justice was served for the attempted genocide. "The other species want to know if we're planning revenge," Jake told the Earth government during his briefing. "They're afraid we'll use our new technology to become the threat the Zephyrians claimed we were." President Martinez, herself a consciousness pattern who had been restored from digital storage, considered the question carefully. "What do you think, Captain? Should they be afraid of us?" Jake thought of the billions of human minds that had been stored like computer files, studied and experimented on by beings who saw them as specimens rather than people. He thought of Earth spinning empty in space while its children grew up in digital prisons. He thought of the crews who had died in the space battles above Zephyr Prime to bring their people home. "They should be respectful," Jake replied. "We're not seeking conquest or revenge, but we're never going to be victims again. Any species that threatens human survival will face consequences they can't imagine." The trial of High Commander Veltar became the most watched legal proceeding in galactic history. The evidence presented included not just the human genocide but also plans for similar operations against 12 other species. The Zephyrian leader showed no remorse, maintaining that his actions had been necessary to preserve galactic stability. "Your species represents chaos," Veltar declared during his testimony. "You develop technology through emotion and intuition rather than logic and order. You cannot be controlled or predicted. You are a threat to everything we have built." The judges, representing 17 different species, deliberated for 3 days before reaching their verdict. Veltar and his co-conspirators were found guilty of genocide, consciousness imprisonment, and crimes against galactic civilization. The sentences included life imprisonment and the dismantling of all Zephyrian reality alteration technology, but the trial also revealed something else that changed how other species viewed humanity. The evidence showed that during their digital imprisonment, human consciousness patterns had continued to evolve and adapt. They had formed support networks, maintained their cultural identity, and even developed new technologies entirely within virtual environments. The Zephyrians had tried to break the human spirit and instead had inadvertently strengthened it. Jake stood once again on Earth's surface, breathing air that smelled of growing things and listening to children play in parks that had been restored. Along with everything else, the planet looked exactly as it had before the erasure, but the people were different. They carried memories of loss and betrayal that would never fully heal, but also knowledge of their own strength and resilience. Commander Rachel Stone found him there, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. "Any regrets about how things turned out?" she asked. Jake considered the question as he watched civilian spacecraft launch from nearby spaceports, carrying humans eager to explore a galaxy that had tried to erase them. Phoenix-class warships maintained patrol routes overhead, their sleek forms a reminder that humanity now possessed the power to defend itself. "The galaxy tried to remove us from existence," Jake replied. "They wanted to study us, control us, or eliminate us entirely. Instead, they taught us how dangerous we could become when we had to be. They created exactly the threat they were trying to prevent." Rachel smiled as she watched a group of children playing with toys that incorporated both human creativity and alien technology. The next generation would grow up knowing that their species had faced extinction and fought their way back to life. They would carry that knowledge into a future where humanity would never again be caught unprepared. "The Phoenix Initiative succeeded beyond our wildest dreams," Rachel said. "We didn't just bring our people back from the dead. We announced to the galaxy that humanity is here to stay, and anyone who threatens that will face the fire of our return." As night fell over Earth, Jake Morrison looked up at stars that once again shone on a human world. Somewhere among those lights were other civilizations, some friendly and some hostile, all now aware that humanity had returned from extinction, stronger and more dangerous than before. The galaxy had tried to erase them from history, and humanity had responded by making history instead.